A very good morning to you. Welcome to the West Ham Voice on a Saturday morning. I hope you're all doing well. Um, After suggesting on Friday in the video that I did that there may be an air of disappointment in not following up on the signing of Lucas Guilherme with another exciting transfer, up pop several serious looking transfer targets all at once, with reports suggesting that we're currently close to signing three particular targets. Now, if you're new to the channel, please do hit that like button that's down there. Please do become a subscriber. Doesn't cost anything to subscribe to the channel. All the content is free, and it'll be fantastic if you join me on this West Ham Voice journey. So, before I talk about the three particular players that we're close to signing, or according to a lot of reports that we have made some serious bids for, we've got to talk about another West Ham goalkeeper that's on the move. Um, when I did a video about Wes Foderingham the other day, I suggested that perhaps Christian Heggie might also make a move on loan to gain further first team experience. And on Friday afternoon, that's exactly what happened. Heggie agreed to a 2-year extension at West Ham on his contract. Then he signed a season long loan to Scottish Premier League club Motherwell. Now, despite being only 21, it's been suggested that Heggie will compete with Aston Oxborough, the current goalie at Motherwell, for the first team spot in the club. So, if all goes well, Heggie should come back to West Ham United in the 25-26 season to be challenging for a goalie position in the senior team, or in the senior squad, I should say. So good luck to him. I hope he really does well. The West Ham United think an awful lot of this young goalkeeper. So let's see how that goes. We'll be looking out for his progress. So let's talk about these three exciting players that we've been linked to in the past day or so that apparently we've now made some serious moves on. We all know about the whole Max Kilman issue. That's West Ham have been trying to get a deal over the line where the value does not exceed £35 million. But that now looks to be on the ropes because Wolves are holding firm on their £45 million valuation. And West Ham could be ready to walk away from that deal if Wolves don't agree to the offer that's been made. Now, as a contingency, West Ham United have been focusing their attention on two central defenders who we've been linked to over the past few weeks or so. Now, the defenders in mind are Lyon's Jake O'Brien and Hull City's Jacob Greaves, who are both now serious targets as alternatives to Kilman. There are so many pluses for each player. O'Brien, for example, is a right-footed central defender, and Greaves is a left-footed central defender. So they could both become first-team options for West Ham. They're both 23 years of age and both have had excellent seasons at their respective clubs. Now, with regards to Greaves, I've talked about him a few weeks back. Very calm in possession, great anticipation of the game, can read the game really well from deep, allowing him to make interceptions on the ball effectively. Very composed in his tackling, doesn't concede too many unnecessary free kicks. And he is a player that many believe will really excel in the Premier League. Now, as for O'Brien, O'Brien came from a bit of a different background. He There wasn't much expected of him when he went to Lyon. He was signed to Lyon last summer for a mere €1 million from Cork City, but I think Lyon were looking at this player being a bit of a backup defender. However, when he got his chance to play, he took it really well, and he's established himself in the French team. He's very comfortable on the ball, with the ball at his feet. He can initiate attacks from a defensive position with great, long, accurate passes. He reads the game well, allowing him to judge tackles and interceptions decisively. When with his 6 foot tall frame, he's got great aerial ability and he's physically strong. And he has a great leadership qualities as well. He's very vocal on the field of play, not something that you associate quite readily with Kurt Zouma. O'Brien also recently became a full international for the Republic of Ireland. He's represented them twice in June. There's also a suggestion that Saeed Benrahma might finally get his permanent move to Lyon, and that might become a factor in O'Brien moving to West Ham. Now, look, whether the actual deals are combined as a swap deal or as two separate deals plus cash, etc., we don't know at this stage. Leon, of course, have got an option to buy Benrahma for something like £12 million, which is on top of the £5 million that they loaned him out for, that they paid on loan last season. So effectively, with O'Brien being valued at around £12 million, we could effectively get the central defender free. If you factor in the Greaves asking price of around 15 million, that might be the total West Ham outlay for the very two good up and coming central defenders. Imagine getting both of them for 15 million pounds in total, and after doing some kind of swap deal for O'Brien and Benrahma. The slight sticking point, I guess, is that Greaves has still got 2 years left on his contract, with O'Brien having 3. There's a sense from many that we should drop the interest in Kilman and push ahead for these two young central defenders. And there's a good chance that we can see deals for at least one, if not both of them, in the coming week. There are other central defenders that we've been again linked to, players that, certainly one player that we've been linked to in the past, and that's Chelsea's Trevor Chalobah. We were linked to him back in January, and he's now available for a reduced fee because Chelsea need to sell because of FFP, PSR, and all that stuff. But this deal would have to happen before the end of June if Chelsea were to sort of get the money in that they need. Now, I like Chalobah. I think he's a proven central defender in the Premier League. He's had an injury, but he's come back strong after that. But whether this deal could actually get done before the end of June, I really don't know. And then, of course, there's also the Italian central defender, Riccardo Calafiori, who apparently said in an interview back in 2022 that in 5 years' time, he can see himself either at Roma, Chelsea, or West Ham. He's an excellent talent. He's having a great Euros 2024 at the moment, but he would cost significantly more than either Greaves, O'Brien, and even Chalobah for that matter. But apart from that, there are one other interesting story, and that's the potential swap deal brewing from 27-year-old Southampton right back Carl Walker-Peters coming our way, and Flynn Downes going to Southampton. Now, we all know Downes had a terrific season at Southampton last season. He was instrumental in helping the club get promoted back into the Premier League at first attempt. However, there seems to be a disagreement on values. Look, Walker-Peters is valued at something like £20 million, but West Ham United won't agree to paying 15 million for Downes. They believe his value is more around 12 million. Now, there's a fair chance that West Ham could also sweeten the deal by offering Danny Ings as well as Flynn Downes in the deal. Now, reports earlier this week suggested that Ings is valued at something like 6 million. So with Downes and Ings, that could equate to around 18 million. And then perhaps if they agree to that, we might have to pay another couple of million on top. But that couple of million could well be saved in the salaries that would be going out of West Ham United. Look, if Southampton could get 2 players in return for allowing Walker-Peters to come to West Ham, then I think a deal could happen sooner rather than later. We know that we now need a right back after failing to convince Ben Johnson to stay at the club. Johnson wanted guaranteed game time as well as a reported £60,000 a week. But I don't know what salary was eventually offered to Johnson, but it's the game time that couldn't be guaranteed to him. So therefore, that swayed him to decide to move to Ipswich. Now, that deal is going to be announced at the beginning of July. Now, as for Walker-Peters, I just said about saving some money in terms of salaries. For Walker Peters, he's currently on a weekly salary of something like £32,000 a week. And even if West Ham were to increase this to say, I don't know, 40, £50,000 a week, it'd still be less than what Ben Johnson has been asking for. And in terms of salaries of the players who can move to Southampton, well, we know Ings is on around about 125 grand a week, with Downs being on around about 32 grand a week. So the net salary difference between these three players proves to be quite favourable for West Ham, with a saving of around about £5.5 million. So basically, Ings and Downs, their total salaries for the whole year come to something like just over £8 million. And if we were to offer Walker Peters around a £50,000 salary, that equates to about 2.6 million per year. So there's your saving of about 5.5 million in salaries. So even if we bought Walker Peters, swapped him for the two players, Downs and Ings, and even gave Southampton £2 million, net profit there would be a saving of £3 million in total. The only thing that could scupper all this is that Spurs, Tottenham Hotspur, have got a £30 million buyback clause, which was agreed when they sold the player to Southampton for £11 million back in 2020. However, the player is in his final year of his contract at Southampton, so it's unlikely that they can demand a fee of around £30 million, whereas a fee of 20 million is a more likely and more realistic figure. He's been pretty much outstanding for Southampton, just like Flynn Downs. He was a part of the team that was successful in getting them back in the Premier League at first attempt. It doesn't look as if he is willing to sign a new deal at Southampton, and we could well see him being at West Ham very soon. Apparently, he's already agreed to join us, so it's a matter of just negotiating the fees for him coming to West Ham and for Flynn Downs going to Southampton. Now, with the possibility of grabbing O'Brien, grabbing Greaves, and Walker Peters in this week, all of a sudden, our transfer window business is looking rather promising.